Hey guys, Keeping Kickland, and today we're going to do a Scotch whiskey. So I've never done one of these on the channel, and look, I love drinking Scotch myself, so I was really keen to get stuck into this one in particular. What we're using today is our Polyphoenix still. Now, I've already tasted the wash that I've got in here, and it tastes pretty good to me. So what we're going to do is set up the Polyphoenix like this. I'm using the product condenser in the horizontal configuration. Also, what I'm going to do is set up the skeleton funnel going into the liquid output, and for this particular run I'm just going to come all out the liquid output here. I'm not going to use the vapor output. I do love using the vapor for things like vodka, but this particular run I think I'm going to run it pretty quick, to be honest with you, and run it a bit hot with a fair bit of power, and for that reason the liquid output is really the better option in that respect. Liquid output's going to run down this shotgun or Liebig and then go into my distillation parrot, which I'm going to have rigidly connected to that Liebig over here. Now, with regards to the wash in here, this particular run, I've saved myself a bit of time and taken a bit of a shortcut and used our Fresh Cube single malt fresh work kit. So look, kind of cheating a little bit, but look, they produce a really good quality product in the end. So I basically fermented a couple of those kits out, and I've used in this particular recipe the EC1118 yeast. So that's typically a wine yeast, so it's a champagne yeast really. It's known for its ability to do really clean fermentation, go up to reasonably high alcohol percentages, and flocculate out pretty well. So look, all three good ticks there for making a Scotch. With that said, it is very clean, and look, there's certainly other yeast strains I'd love to do this again with, such as ones which produce a little bit more, I guess, ester production. So things like the Angel Yellow Label yeast, I think that's a really good choice. One advantage with the Yellow Label yeast is that one already includes enzyme, while this particular wash I had to ferment it out with the high temperature alpha amylase to really break it down. Now, whether you use Yellow Label or EC1118, I think enzyme is a really good thing to have in whiskey in general, because it just gives you a bit more yield and you can squeeze a bit more out of the same materials and get a bit more Scotch out of it. So, it kind of really makes sense. Now, with respect to other yeast choices, if you wanted to go for the Angel AM1 or Angel, I think it's the AG2, they're also really good options as well. If you want a little bit more ester production and a little bit more complexity, then I think that would be a really good choice. Look, in hindsight, after tasting this and seeing it's pretty clean, sometimes I'm wondering whether that would have been a better option, to be honest with you. But anyway, we're going to just keep going with this video anyway. Look, I'm generally pretty happy with this wash. I think there's still plenty of flavor in here for me to get out of it. Another good one, and this is also a yeast which a lot of the actual distilleries are using out there, is also the Kveik yeast. So there's the Vos Kveik. I think we've got a Cellar Science one, which is really good value for money. I've obviously got the Lullerman one, which is a really good one. I've obviously been selling that for a long time, but either one you choose. The Kveik has a really a lot of good things going for it when it comes to whiskies and stuff like that, because it's got, it's still relatively clean fermenting. It's got very high alcohol tolerance. It ferments really fast. Still got fairly good flocculation, but it's got a little bit of ester production, which often I don't love in beer. So even though it's sort of primarily a beer yeast, I actually think in Scotch it maybe has more of an application, in my opinion. With the Kveik yeast, you will get some slight kind of citrusy notes kind of come through. So if you're trying to produce a whiskey with that type of complexity, you may want to even go for that yeast. So look, just a few options out there. But anyway, let's get into it. I'm going to basically whack this still head onto the boiler, and we're going to get cracking. Now, just to chuck a little bit of a wild card in here, I'm doing something quite unconventional today. I'm also got this grain bag, and you're probably thinking, why is that grain bag inside the Bruzilla? And the reason why I'm doing this is I've got some Gladefield's heavy peat smoked malt in here. Now, I really wanted to try this particular process to see if it would be an effective way to get some really good smoky aromas into the final product. Now, look, the normal way or the conventional way to add, this type of malt is actually convert the malt, because it's kind of a bit of a waste. I'm not actually getting any sugars out of the malt at this process. But there's probably an argument either way. If I add the malt and actually mash that earlier on, that means it goes through the fermenter and potentially some smoky aromas could blow off through the airlock. So look, I was just curious to know if I add, a smoked malt and just steep it inside my wash here, will I get a really good smoky flavor and potentially even more smoke come out of it into the final product. So anyway, look, random experiment. I'm gonna do this and we will see what happens in the end. The heavy peated malt's now been in there for 24 hours. So I've just been sort of draining that off and hanging it there for a few moments, and that's all done. I can really smell that heavy peated smoked smell. So that is it's just permeating through the room. It's sort of hard to describe how intense that is. But this 2 kilos or so of malt has really, really come through. So look, I'm hoping a lot of those really good aromas are going to be captured in the final step. Got a little sample here, and yeah, huge amount of smoked aroma. Look, I wouldn't say that there's a massively smoky flavor, but like it's definitely got a lot of aroma. Look, I wouldn't say that it was too much. I would say round about those proportions are probably, you know, at a bit of a guess what you'd probably want to use, but we'll see at the end of the process and see how much of that smoke survives the distilling. Anyway, I'm going to crank this lid down and fire this thing up, and we will see how we go. So I'm going to crank this up to the 3,500 watts to get up to temperature. Look, I might back it off a little bit once I've got the plate loaded. Obviously, at the same time, I'm also going to basically turn on my water supply. So I'm going to set an alert basically on the Bruzilla. That way I get notified when I'm up to temperature. Anyway, let's get started and see how we go. Okay, so the stripping run's going pretty well. I did forget to mention as well that I added some of this foam cap. So it's basically anti-foam agent. This is a good idea. It'll just prevent a lot of the proteins and stuff like that, which are inside my wash, basically causing too much surface tension, and then therefore things will really bubble up the column and then, you know, cause me some headaches with it, kind of like really frothing up all through the column. So to prevent that, get yourself some foam cap, or look, there's plenty of other defoaming or anti-foam agents you can get out there. But anyway, you can see the process here. The bubble cap has just been ticking away for quite a while now. The ABV is definitely dropping quite a bit. So I've dropped down to just under 30% ABV there. And then as you can see, it's dropping into this little reagent bottle there at a pretty quick rate, I guess. And that's because I'm up at the 3.5 kilowatts of power. So still's handling that fine. And this is some of the jars that I've already collected. Look, I'm not doing this to take cuts at this stage. I'm basically just taking the bulk amount of spirit. Then I'm going to get all these jars, chuck them back into the boiler at the end, and then we're going to do the final cuts in a moment. But so far, everything's going pretty well. I should say the smell in this room is pretty epic. I can smell quite a lot of the aromatics that are coming through here. Look, the first stuff that came out was a little bit kind of nail polishy. I'm not even sure if I'm going to put that in the boiler next, to be honest with you, but I might leave that one out. But certainly everything else, you know, most of this is tasting and smelling pretty good. A lot of that smoky aroma definitely has come off right at the start, starting to peter off a little bit. So certainly the smoky stuff is coming out pretty early on in the distillation process. But anyway, check back with you guys in a tick. Okay, I finished doing the stripping run. I've got all these bottles here, which I'm going to chuck back into the boiler, except for this little one here. I've got this little one here, which smells a little bit like nail polish, so that's definitely not going to go in. That's the heads jar, we'll call it. I'm going to chuck everything else in, and I'm going to basically do my final run and take my cuts. Essentially, when I was taking these, it was sort of mostly about 40% ABV, and then just towards the end there, dropped down to, look, I think I captured in the last jar up to about maybe, I think it must have been about maybe 5% ABV. So I probably even went too far into the tails, to be honest with you. But look, doesn't really matter. I'm going to do the cuts on the next round. So this is all going to go into the boiler. As you can see, the boiler's already been cleaned, so it's ready to go. And I'm just going to chuck all this in like that. And we will do our final cuts run on Monday when I'm back in at work. Okay, so I fired up the still again, and it's looking pretty good so far. I basically had it up at about 3,500 watts, and I've dropped it down to 1,500. You will find when you've got very high ABV in the boiler, so in this instance I've got like 40% ABV, when using the bubble cappers at that very high concentration of ABV in the boiler, it's better to turn the power down, especially when you're taking your final cuts through. So you want to be you know, a little bit more careful. Otherwise, you know, you just get so much vapor coming up in these final cuts. You're going to get a lot more sort of smearing, I guess, in that instance. So Yeah, 40% ABV in the boiler, and as you can see, it's coming out now at the start of the run at about 70, I don't know, it must be at 76% ABV, I guess. And I've just got my first collection container here, which is filling up. I'm going to cycle through and fill up all these jars as we go. So I've taken all my cuts. Here they are on the bench. This is basically the first, going right down to this one here, which is number 7. And essentially, look, I could have gone even slightly further than this, but I was already picking some slightly funky flavors coming out of this, so I didn't bother collecting any further. And I was already, you know, about just below 10% ABV anyway, so there's really not much left over this end. So yeah, you would also remember that previously on my stripping run, I had a little bit of nail polishy stuff and I've thrown that away. So technically that would have been sitting on this cut here, I guess, but because I've already taken that away, I've started with this one. Have had a bit of a smell of this already, and this is already smelling quite nice with some nice sort of fruity esters coming off here. And then as I go through these cuts, it sort of goes into sort of more neutral-ish territory, I suppose. And I actually thought that there was a little bit of smoke throughout the whole lot. Even on these first cuts, I was kind of surprised to have smoke come out so early here, but actually there's some really nice smoky notes on these ones in particular as well. Look, this definitely has some nice smoky elements to it in the final cut, but it's just got too much random off flavors in there, which I think I'm going to take that one out. I'm going to probably blend all these together, and then I might gradually, incrementally add a little bit more of this one and just sort of test and just gently see how it goes, because I don't want to ruin my hard work with this final sort of tails cut. Anyway, I'm going to put them inside this this conical flask or Elmar flask here, and then what I'm going to do is add some oak. So what I'm going to do is get these bits of oak here. These are the oak soakables. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with 4 balls, which is quite a lot actually. Look, you could definitely use an oak barrel or something like that, or oak staves or whatever. But look, these balls I find pretty easy to use. The other thing is they're easy to control the level. So I'm going to start off with 4. I'm going to taste it, you know, over time. So I'm probably going to have to do a follow-up video later on. And then what I'll do is I will basically come back maybe after a year and then see how we go. But it's highly likely that halfway through the process, I might take a couple oak balls out and leave it with 1 or 2 left in there. And then that way it can sort of slowly oak over time rather than trying to rush the process a bit too much. So I've tested what I've got in here with the Easy Dens, and it seems like I've hit about 65% ABV once I mix those cuts together. So I need to water this down to 60%. So I'm going to add a little bit of water on top. Look, already, even with those oak balls sitting in there for literally only 5 minutes, it some of that color has started to permeate. So I'll pick up some color really, really quickly with this one. I'm gonna do a follow-up video later on. And of course, if you wanna hear about that follow-up video, you gotta go down bottom right-hand corner, hit subscribe now, and also click that notification bell icon so you get notified when all the new videos land on the channel. Now, the other thing is we've got heaps of guys like yourself sharing tips and tricks on how to use all the gear on our Facebook group. So go to Kegland Homebrew community group, and then you'll find that one there. Join that. You can be in on the discussion. That's it. Hope you guys enjoy using the Polyphoenix still. I think it's heaps of fun to get into distillation. I know a lot of home brewers and brewers out there who have often wanted to dabble in this area, and the Polyphoenix still is an absolute beast. I think it's so flexible in the way you can set it up. It is definitely one of my favorite choices for doing this type of stuff. So give it a crack. And if you've got any other questions, put them in the comments below. If you've got something that you've done in distillation you want to share with everyone else, you know, don't be shy. Get down in the comments, share it with everyone else, and comment as well. All right, that's it, and see you guys next time. Bye.